Now, Westbrook watch continues this morning. Russell Westbrook is open to a trade out of Oklahoma City. The Thunder are open to trading him. The Heat are open to bringing him in, and Russ is open to Miami. So when is this deal going to get closed? For more on that, we say good morning to one part of the Get Up menagerie. It's Jalen Rose. And before we get to him, top of the hour, we get a sneak preview. And we just ran through a little bit of the easy part of this deal, right? Which is the fact that the player wants out, another team wants him. So it seems like it could or should get done. If it does, Jalen, how well do you think this pairing of Jimmy Butler and Russell Westbrook would work?
It would be terrific. It would be fantastic. It would be wonderful for the game of the NBA. When you look at so many dynamic duels that have now taken form across the league, we have gotten away from the big threes like you saw the Heatles 9 years ago yesterday in Miami. You get away from the Boston Celtic big three of Paul Pierce, Ray Allen, and Kevin Garnett. The big four that you saw with the Golden State Warriors of the Splash Brothers, Draymond and KD. To dynamic duels, and I would love to see he and Jimmy Butler not only compete on the floor and be really productive, but the level of aggression and tenacity and just nastiness that they will have playing with one another. It would be awesome to see.
Okay, so you mentioned the power duos, right? I mean, LeBron and AD and Kawhi and PG and even a year from now, right, Kyrie and KD. Of that group, if you put Westbrook and you put Butler in there, which duo are you most interested in seeing?
Oh, no question. It is the Clippers. Here's why. They embody so many things that seem to fly under the radar. You have two guys in Paul George and Kawhi Leonard that went to small colleges in California while being California kids. You have the transplants playing for the purple and gold in LeBron and Anthony Davis. Paul George was top 3 MVP candidate. Kawhi Leonard led his team to a championship. They're not only two of the top 3 or 4 wings in the game with LeBron and KD, but 2 of the top 10 players overall in the league. The Clippers are going to give people fits defensively. That is the duo that I'm most enthusiastic to see.
Right now, Caesars has both LA teams as co-favorites to win the title. That's Jalen Rose with the inside for us on SportsCenter AM. Waving to you, Jalen.
Thanks a lot. Appreciate the love.
Me too.
Hey, Nicole.
Hi. Coming up.
Right. You didn't see him utter a challenging word in Kevin Durant's direction. Why? Because he's truly the franchise player. Kyrie Irving is a show. He's a special, special talent, make no mistake about it. But coming off the year that he had in Boston, there are some questions about him as a leader. There's some questions as whether or not you want him to be a face of a franchise. And Kenny Atkinson essentially went about the business of publicly admitting that before this man even showed up to training camp. That is not smart because remember, Kyrie is Kevin Durant's boy. And if you alienate Kyrie Irving prematurely, you have alienated Kevin Durant prematurely, which the Nets should not want to do.
That's a terrible prejudice here. I'm not rooting against the Nets. And I love the Nets because I was there at the birth of the Nets on Long Island. When they had Rick Barry and they later had Julius Erving, they had Billy Pauls, the Whopper, if you remember him. Yeah. And I just think that the acquisition of these two and statements like this make me say, what are you talking about?
That's right.
What are we doing?
I totally agree with you.
Serena Williams is into the semifinals at Wimbledon now for the 12th time. Tomorrow, she will play unseeded Barbara Strycova. On the other side of the draw are women who have never been to the finals of Wimbledon, a tournament that Serena has now won 7 times. Stephen, given her path, should we expect Serena to win?
Yes. I think we should. Why should we bet against it? Do we see anybody that we could definitively say is going to knock off Serena? No. Now, this is tennis. Anytime you can lose. I mean, think about the U.S. Open and Wimbledon. Over the last 2 years, she's lost in the finals to Osaka and Kerber, if I remember correctly.
That's right.
The bottom line is this. Anybody can be beat on any given day in tennis. We understand it. We respect it. But if you got to take your money and you say, I got to pick somebody to get it done. You're talking about Serena, who's obviously chasing Margaret Court, wants to be the all-time singles champion. You're talking about a lady in Serena Williams who's absolutely phenomenal, and more importantly, she's got the heart of a lion. She's arguably the greatest champion we have ever seen in American history. When you think about the number of titles that she's won, the level of adversity she has endured in that path to championship after championship after championship, I think it would be foolish for anybody to bet against Serena. So if I got to take her or the field, particularly when she's already in the semifinals, I'm taking Serena Williams. And usually I'm going to win in that round.
Most of the time you are. And in terms of greatest ever, you know, Steffi Graf is in the conversation, Martina Navratilova,
Yes.
Billie Jean King, Chris Evert, and Serena Williams.
That's right.
Absolutely there. And you would think that because these people are not as accomplished as she is, certainly not as accomplished at this particular court as she is, that she would win. But again, she did lose twice in finals last year. She has not won a major since the Australian in 2017, which I think is in January of 2017. And she's 37 years old. Now, I'm still picking her to win. But you say to me, oh, 37. Well, Federer's 37, and he reached the semifinals too. But we've seen him age. He doesn't win all the finals anymore. There comes a point in tennis where it's almost too much to go through the 2 weeks. It's just hard to do.
You can say that, but here's my retort to that. I didn't see Federer, for obvious reasons, was never pregnant, never had a child, and then came back and won. Okay, he never had to endure that. This is Serena Williams that we're talking about here. She's eclipsed things that we never fantasized. We never even dreamed somebody could end up pulling off. And by the way, when we say the last time she won was in the Australian Open, that was just a couple of years ago. It wasn't like it was Tiger Woods who had it
And
one
she was pregnant at that time.
That's right.
At that time.
That's right.
Maybe Federer should work on it.
How about that?
Let's take a break.
Hey.
Coming up, should baseball start miking up players during the regular season? Oh, it's you.
And what are we to make of R.J. Barrett's first solid Summer League performance for the New York Knickerbockers?
Are you a Knicks fan? I just wondered. I've heard that.
Stop messing with me, Tony. I thought you loved me. Stop it.
I was
Stop
a
it.
The interruption is brought to you by Infinity. Empower the drive.
This summer,
I have my doctor's coat on, which means it's time to perform an uncomfortable procedure on Stephen A. Smith. And what's the word? What's first?
Baseball would be blank to have players interact with broadcasters during every game.
They would be trend-setting and smart and fan-friendly. As I said earlier, attendance is down the last couple of years. If you have players mic'd up, providing they don't just curse for 10 straight minutes, but if you have cooperative players mic'd up and you can get insight into a game, you're going to offer something to your fans that the other sports don't do. I mean, I understand there are certain risks involved in this, but to me, you get baseball out in front of a much wider audience, because even the young kids who don't watch now go, wow, they're talking to them right now during the game.
I respectfully disagree. The word that comes to my mind is stupid. I think it would be an absolutely stupid idea, and I want to be clear as to why that is. We are just weeks removed from a manager of the New York Mets and a player for the New York Mets getting into it with a reporter because the reporter looked at them and said, have a good evening. Could you imagine if a broadcast or whatever was allowed to be in the air of an athlete, of a baseball player while performing? Excuse me, you gonna just take those strikes? When are you gonna swing? I mean, could you get a hit, please? Could you imagine if something like that was set to them?
I think that'd be great fun.
Ridiculous idea.
Next!
Ridiculous.
After last night's performance, Knicks fans should feel blank about R.J. Barrett.
Optimistic. He's 19 years old. He went into school last year as the #1 rated prospect, and even ahead of Zion Williamson at that point. Look, he's coachable. He was brought up well. He's willing to be coached. I understand he can't shoot right now. But for Knicks fans of a certain age, even older than you, Bill Bradley's not walking through that door. Dick Barnett's not walking through that door.
Rub it in, rub
you
it in.
can learn to shoot. Magic Johnson, learn to shoot. I think he's going to be fun.
The word that comes to my mind is leery, and I don't want to do this because I like the kid. He's got talent. I know he can score. He averaged 22 a game at Duke. I get it. But he's not a shooter. He's a scorer. He's not lightning quick. He certainly doesn't have athleticism that jumps out of the screen. And I think those things on the NBA level can be somewhat of a hindrance
Do you
to
think,
his. I really believe that.
Okay, but don't
I'm
you,
not sold
don't you
on him.
look at the progress somebody can make? Do you believe that at 19 you can make that judgment and say there's a ceiling?
Yes, I do. And I agree with his dad, talked about his commitment to excellence, how hard he will work. I believe in the kid's character.
Right.
But we're talking about his game, and I'm not wowed yet on the NBA level in terms of imagining him against NBA talent.
Last one. It would be blank if Marcus Morris backs out of his deal with the Spurs and signs with the Knicks.
Cheesy. people will look at him badly. People will say, you gave a verbal commitment to the San Antonio Spurs, and as a result, the San Antonio Spurs made a series of moves that now weakens that team, and then you backed out of signing with them. But from a legal standpoint, he did not sign any contract, so he doesn't really have to show up there. He's going to make $5 million more than he would have with San Antonio. It's not something that I can defend, but I have a solution.
Well, you have a solution.
Here's my solution.
Okay.
He's got a twin brother. Ship him to San Antonio. Markeith.
I like that. That's a good one because they both can play. I like them both as players. I respect them, but the word that comes to my mind is unprofessional. Here's why. Your word is your word. You gave it. Period. I understand there's more money. I get it. But you told the San Antonio Spurs you were coming. They made moves to maneuver around the cap to facilitate your arrival. For you to back out, what if it was the other way around? I don't recall of any situation, and I could be wrong, but I don't recall of any situation where there was an NBA team who promised you, okay, we're bringing you here. Deal is done. Handshake agreement with you and the agent, your representative, and then reneged on that deal. They would have a heart attack. They would have a heart attack. They would go insane.
No, that
so
would
guess
not
what?
work.
What's good for the goose is good for the gander. You gave your word. It was publicized. You agreed to come on board.
Again,
all parties was on it. Honor your word.
Twin brother, nobody would know. Nobody would ever know.
They would know.
That's it. Eat your words, Stephen A. Let's take one last break, but still to come.